Good morning, welcome to another live feed. Rashad, your YouTube channel from March the 11th, 2026. Let's get into different passage of scripture type of thing. Fish with the Sermon on the Mount yesterday. Now it gets the freedom in Christ study Bible. We're reading from Genesis chapter 1. It's about the creation. Into that. That'll be it for the day. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless, empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. God said, "Let there be light." There was light. God saw the light was good. He separated the light from the darkness. God called the dark light dark. Again, he called light. And there was evening. And there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse, separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. It was so. God called the expanse sky, and there was evening, there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, let dry ground appear." It was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas, and God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed bearing, and plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. There was evening, and there was morning the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky. Separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons, days, and years. Let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and night, and to separate light from the darkness. God saw that it was good, and there was evening, there was morning, the fourth day. God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the space of the sky." God created the earth, the sea, every living, moving thing with which the waters teems, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth, and let there be there and there was evening, there was morning, and the fifth day." God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind." It was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let's make man in our image and our likeness. Let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him. The male and female he created them. God blessed them, said to them, "Be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Go over the fish, over the sea, and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground." And God said, "I'll give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of your whole earth, and every tree that has a fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food, and to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has a breath of life in it. Give every plant green plant for food." It was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. There was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. And so I'm done with that for the creation of Genesis chapter 1. So let's break this down. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. These beginning words of the Bible for that there's only one creator who is eternally existent. The Bible makes no attempt to prove the existence of God. We say that he exists, according to Romans chapter 1, verse 20. So the Old Testament Prophets consistently credited God as the only creator and source of all existence. There was a contingent between God and his creation, for it is the Lord who has made all things, who alone stretched out the heavens. God's handiwork is absolutely dependent upon him for its ordering and survival. No God dependent Testament, Old Testament prophets wrote uh, creation. They made a religious affirmation that God is the one and only sovereign Lord of the universe. They never entertained the thought of some cosmic dualism as set forth by other religions. The age of our present world is not given in Scripture. It is variously understood by scholars. Many conservative scholars hold to a literal 7-day creation, though through study of the genealogies given in the book of Genesis, we hold to a young earth in the neighborhood 10 to 20,000 years old. Others read the creation narrative and understand day to mean an age, and will see a much older earth, possibly millions of years old. Of the Hebrew word for day and used elsewhere in the Bible, the numerical adjective always refers to a total of 24-hour day. The theory of the Earth's age utilizes a gap theory. According to this theory, a gap of time exists between verses 1 and 2 of Genesis 1. At the beginning of time, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. According to this theory, God could have created the earth, but that was millions of years before recreation or restoration or of earth, with the new creation of him came will count to rule over it. This theory allows significant time for the appearance of Satan, who was previously created and subsequently fell from earth in the garden. The Genesis account of civilian, the Genesis account of creation is uniquely different from the mythological accounts discovered in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Greece. There are no struggles between deities or primordial powers, nor is there any attempt to exalt one race over another. Monotheism is established in the first sentence. Creation unfolds in a manner consistent with the observations of scientists. For instance, the creation of vegetables had to come about before the animals, since the study of photosynthesis has shown that green plants furnish the oxygen necessary for animal existence. Beginning literally means by way of the beginning, or to begin with, became something other than absolute start to creation. Creation is the starting point of history as we know it, about the necessary stage for the creation of humanity, humankind, the unfolding drama of sin and redemption. Next, I'll be in Psalm chapter 19 tomorrow. Talk about divine relations, continuing this series on the creation. Psalm 19. I'll be reading that tomorrow. So let's get into the Magic Johnson Larry Bird book, When March Became Mad. Chapter 7, the game that changed form, basketball, March 26. 1979, this game was played. Let's go over the season that led up to that matchup. Ed McKee, Indiana State's Nike General Sports Engine Information Director, said Smalls that once had been a concession stand in Holman Center, ticked off the media outlets who had contacted him in just the last few days. They were CBS Radio, Providence Journal, the New York Post, some cold, Alexander called, as did a woman from the National Solid Waste Management Association. Apparently, she had gotten word that the best college basketball player in America had once worked on a garbage truck. She wanted to do a story for the newsletter. And the Sycamores, still undefeated season, was in the school with an unprecedented opportunity to generate publicity. There was only one problem. They all want to talk to Larry Bird. And Larry's not talking. That put McKee in a tough bind. He didn't like not impressed with sport rights any more than he liked bringing those requests to Bird and Bill Hodges in the first place. McKee also knew that nobody was willing to try to force to change his mind, including the school's president, Richard Ladany. With people with talents in a dime a dozen people with diverse talents come along with only once in a lifetime. The tail was really wagging the dog, McKee says, and Larry did tell you what he wanted to do and what he didn't want to do. Bill wasn't going to rock the boat, and neither was Ladany. People would call me at home at night, wanting to set up an interview. I told them, you can come down here, but I can't promise on having an interview for Bird's discomfort with outside attention had been apparent from his earliest days playing for Indiana State. A group of friends printed up T-shirts midway through his sophomore season that read, "I'm a bird watcher," but told the local writer they shouldn't do that. They should put the whole team out on there. It might hurt somebody's feelings. He also got upset during his junior season when he emerged from the shop of the game and found a dozen or more reporters waiting by the locker while they ignored the other players. When writers posed questions that had little to do with basketball, he made his displeasure unclear. Writers keep asking me about my girlfriend, what kind of car I had. He wants to get so personal. At first, Larry's tight-lipped nature made him something of a curiosity to out-of-town reporters. 6 months after they lost to Houston in the first round of NIT in his sophomore year, Ish Ellie of the Dallas Morning News wrote that Bird looks like King Hawk Harrison, chose the Irish offensive balls like Paul Silas, talks like Harpo Marx. No doubt Bird was concerned about that the more painful details of his past would come to light. There was another reason for his resistance to doing interviews. He didn't think he was any good at them. Bird met with a handful of reporters following a win at Tulsa his junior year. He and assistant coach Stan Evers walked across the court on their way to the team bus. Bird turned to Evers and inquired, "Did I sound stupid in there?" Bird was taken back. "Yo, Larry, you didn't sound stupid. You did fine." Everybody used him, but nobody would ever tell him how to handle an interview. Everybody coached him on how to talk, how to anticipate a question. I think he really wanted that. Naturally, the more Bird tried to hide his personal life from was the more they had to know about it. In January 20, 1978, Sports Illustrated dispatched his main college basketball writer, Larry Keefe, to do a feature on Bird. The previous November, Bird had appeared on the magazine's cover, was with 2 Indiana State cheerleaders under the headline, "College Basketball's Secret Weapon." Bird was so still and non-communicative in that photoshop that the photographer, Blaine Stewart, spent the rest of his career citing the Bird rule, states that no matter how simple an idea may sound, photographers should never fully count on the subject's ability to pull it off. There was no accompanying story inside this issue on the cover because it was a season preview. Now the magazine wanted to give Bird the full treatment, but Larry wanted nothing to do with it. His response was to putting Keith off. One point he simply didn't show up for a scheduled opponent in the hotel room, returning team trainer Bob Minke. So Keith did whatever any good reporter would do in that situation, bring up Georgia Bird and Fitch Lit. He was more than happy to talk. When Keith approached Bird after his next game, Bird told him he didn't appreciate that Keith had called his mother. I remember saying to him, "I want to get to know you. But as a person, it's not just about your statistics." But that was exactly the wrong thing to say. He didn't want people to get to know him as a person. "Can't tell me nothing," Bird said. Bird's junior year with teammate Harry. One king, he got ahead like a brick wall. Walsh, for instance, with the media may have been a benign distraction during his first 2 years in Terry Hope. As the single most mushroom like a full-blown media phenomenon in the 1978-79 season, the big city media folks who came to town started to resent the silent treatment. Hodges, who inherited the problems Bird had from Bird, Bob King did his best to keep distractions out of his locker room. But in the end, there was only so much he could control. Some members of the national press found Bird's Harpo Marx acts charming, even alarming. David Dupree, a writer from the post-game Tory Hope in late January, knowing his little about was set, as he put it, when he asked by local comments. The fact that there was a scheduled suspect, they were Bird an enigma. It's uncomfortable and it's unclear inside big cities and there's where people he doesn't know. He was talking to the press. He referred to discuss basketball and nothing else. Around a little bit. Bird felt so besieged that he started to get paranoid. He spotted people he assumed were wires sitting near him at some of his favorite local hangouts, taking notes in the next booth. He touched on his disdain for the press during one of the few print media interviews he had that season. "You gotta be careful what you say around sports writers," Bird told the Indiana State cross-country coach who interviewed him. Occasion called interest sports. A lot of them want to find out beside you, the private you. They don't want to know how good a basketball player you are. When they want to talk about basketball, they're interested in knowing who your friend is, and they want to know why did you work on the guy's truck. I'm not saying all writers are like that, but there sure are a few who fit that image. Bird did grant the occasional television or radio interview, furthering if comments were being recorded. It couldn't be recorded the way he believed and at the Missouri Valley Conference Media Day in November. He started to get really sticky with another Sports Illustrated reporter, Chris Newman, brought in Terry Holt in late January since Indiana State had not been on television. Save for though seeing HBO, Newman had to tune their bill to remember what the team was really all about. On the situation, the most pronounced fortress mentality I was run up against was Burr. I kind of like someone who tells the establishment of people of some influence to go to blank. I think that's good up to a point, but this is just foolish. A lack of access force reports to hunt absolute information, which gave Bird Indiana State less control over the stories. Newman happened to have a cousin who lived in Terre Haute. Went out to dinner with one of her friends who worked in the county clerk's office. She mentioned that Bird had been slapped with a paternity suit from his ex-wife. What made it weird to me was it was his ex-wife who was filing for paternity. Bird's pale marriage was another subject that rarely was discussed. Even with his closest friends, he had married his high school girlfriend Jan Condra in 1975 November, sitting out at Indiana State as a redshirt in 1976. So with Jan filed for divorce on the Larry's first basketball season. He just got married too young. It was my decision to get divorced. There was no such so much stress with him playing basketball and me. And like I always came last, I thought if I filed for divorce, shot came into trying to change a little bit and work out that way. Even after the divorce, Larry and Jan kept seeing each other. 1 month later, she got pregnant by the following spring. They broke up for good. I was 6 months pregnant when he told me he had a girlfriend. Condra says that Jonathan Corby was born in August 1977. The time Larry saw his daughter while he was at state was a month after she was born. And Larry showed up at the apartment of mutual friend when Jan was visiting. It's personal stuff. Let's move on. Bruce Newman also learned that Bird's flying father had committed suicide when his story on Flying to the Top appeared in February 5th, 1979. Just Sports Illustrated marked the first time that fact had ever appeared in print. Bird's family and Chris was furious at the disclosure. His youngest brother Eddie cried when he read it. Hank Hodges was rankled by Newman's story as well, and had included a quote from Carne's dad. And that jealousy over the star treatment Bird had been receiving in the press. I don't understand. You don't want to ask me about me. I can play. Newman also wrote that Hodges and many Indiana State players seemed afraid of Bird. So Hodges responded to a question before saying, I had no comment. So I would not have a good relationship, and I wouldn't want if he reason appeared to change that. I just listened to Newman's piece at the luncheon on February 5th on Social Straight second break, saying that his players would never talk to the magazine again. Oh no, me, do you think I'm afraid of anyone? Do you think any basketball players are afraid of him? I think they look for the countries. If they can't, they fabricate. I just also said the Knicks was devastated when he saw his comment in the magazine. There was one media person who attracted more enmity from the state community than David Israel. It was NBC broadcaster Billy Packer. Coming away unimpressed by Bird's play at the World Invitational Tournament next to him the previous summer. Huh? Oh, no. Coming away unimpressed by Bird's play at the World Invitational Tournament next to him. In his few summer, Packer once spent much of the season casting doubt whether Indiana was really as perfect as its indicate. First voices suspicions that on NBC's telecast of Duke Marquette December when NBC was on hand for his top-ranked Notre Dame's loss. Went to UCLA on February 11th, play-by-play man Jim Simpson asked, was Packer Mount McGuire whether Indiana State, which was number 2, should move up to the top spot. He posed McGuire said yes. It was quickly clear knew how didn't know a player next State sent Phil Perry. He had never seen them play. I said, how can you make that statement? Who had they played? How can they be number 1? So the Terry Holt Tribune the next day dubbed Packer Emmy number 1 in the Indiana State country. store pedal recording a song called One Ode to Billy Pack. Pack was on Lincoln what was most of the basketball kind of city were already thinking. Bob Bryant of Boston Post wrote a column for Basketball Weekly saying that the Sycamore's schedule was just sexy enough not to be laughed at, but not hard enough to create possibly too many losses. Indiana State is a nice team, but not a number one. Long amount of one all major contenders, they need to stay unbeaten to keep the ranking. By then, sure, they'd be number one, even if in your head you feel they'd be finished fourth in the Big Ten. The folks at Indiana State and the Missouri Valley Conference were coming up ever more creative ways to knock them off. February 10th, the Sycamores traveled to Peoria, Illinois to play Bradley. The Rays were led by flamboyant combative first-year head coach for Sace. Indiana State won 91-72. They were 23-0 when they beat Texas State on February 12th. Same weekend, the top-ranked Notre Dame lost to UCLA. They were finally voted number one AP poll, though the coaches voting in the GPI poll left them at number two on UCLA, which had been ranked behind Indiana State at number three. Sycamores were so lightly regarded in some was that six coaches voted them fourth or lower in the UPI poll and one voted them eighth. A week later, the Sycamores fell back to number two AP's rankings, even though it had lost. It got more first-place votes than top-ranked UCLA, but there was just enough voters with one who ranked the Sycamores to cost them the top spot. Biggest hurdle Indiana State faced in altering this perception that it had not gotten any television exposure beyond its immediate period, but with the regular season and it's close, that was about to change. America was finally going to get its first real look at Lagerberg. It was more than beauty for its close-up. Meanwhile, it was a pretty safe bet that Michigan State would not come out flat-footed if it advanced against Northwestern for a third Jensen Fieldhouse. Coach Magic Johnson set out most of the game. Spring and we have suffered during the matchup against Ohio State. This one was built a 16-point lead for the Wildcats in the second half. Score still 161-50. The absence of Johnson for the most of the game gave Britt the stage to himself. He scored 18 points, got 14 rebounds. Kelsey established himself more as a co-star to Johnson and his consigned the sidekick. Kelsey could take himself a little too seriously, and there was two times where he detected a trace of jealousy that he wasn't the accolades the match did. Magic Kelsey alley-oop became the Spartans' signature play during the stretch run. So he played a non-conference game against University of Kansas. Normally, he would never schedule games 2 days in a row, but he agreed to play this one because it was going to be next televised on NBC, which since his marquee trio of Dick Ember, Al McGuire, and Barry Piper's insolence for the occasion, should have been dull, tired playing that game, their game 4 days. They were so fired up they played their best game of the season, crushing the Jayhawks 85-61. Lopsidedness of the game was a time that Heath Cope was just how potent the team could be if it reached the NCAA tournament, playing by outside the league and destroy them. He played a different style than teams were used to. They had time to scout us that might have been different. The game also showed just how lethal the team's transition game was once. Head coach turned his guys to even Mike Bukovich, who was delivered to spike the dunker himself, two jams, including one where he soared over against lead scorer 6'2" guard Darnell Valentine. The 2-3 matchup zone was a big part of Michigan State's uniqueness. Also later in their 6'8" virtual point guards, Johnson trick after trick. NBC broadcast the team bring out superlatives. It was the Michigan State prestigious word early on. Johnson was unstoppable throughout the game, despite some very limitations. He had 3 field goals, 12 points, but had 11 assists and 10 rebounds. He ran like a 100-year-old man, like he had planes on his feet. Edgar Wilson, a graduate assistant coach that season, said, "Jump either, you might be able to beat him in a 100-yard race, but if you race, you get to a ball 10 feet away, beat you every time." So I suppose about Johnson's being a great passer, his uncanny ability to find a teammate who didn't even realize he was open and diverted the ball when it seemed impossible. Johnson was a cult hero in at least Lansing, but even the locals may have underestimated his appeal to the national audience. Let's get around a little bit. Michigan State 73-67 went up Purdue. Purdue they ranked to 19-5. On point, it was 11-4 in the Big Ten. It beat Purdue 73-67. All right. From this chapter, March 3rd, they beat Wisconsin on 9 straight for their record conference 13-4. They're also ranked number 4 in the AP poll. On 83-81. Apologize. They lost to Wisconsin. Wes Matthews, Wisconsin guard, he was a 55-foot shot as the buzzer went off. Probably it banked in and Badgers won 83-81. It wasn't the best way to end the regular season, given all that had transpired the previous 2 months. As it was fitting, if I never see another long shot at the buzzer, it will be too soon. I've seen enough for a lifetime this season. So being chapter 8 tomorrow. That's it. That's it for the live feed for today. Be back tomorrow. Chapter 8. Be in the Freedom of Christ State Bible. Divine Revelation, chapter 19 of Psalms. Psalm 19, divine revelation. That'll be tomorrow in chapter 8. And March went mad. So subscribe to the channel. Be back tomorrow. Till then, talk to you tomorrow.